sorry we didn't get a chance to speak. We didn't get a chance to speak in, in person.
Okay,
Uh,
so I'm talking to Zev and Feldman about 1996 Klezmer conference. It's February 10th, 2025. So do you have any particular memories of the actual event?
Almost nothing. I remember a room. This is not going to be very helpful from my point of view because I really have very few memories. I think at the end of it, I was interviewed by that lovely Yugoslav woman who wrote about the Balkan revival in the States. She
Oh,
passed
yeah.
away. What was her name again?
Mirjana Malshevich, yeah.
Mirjana Lashovitz. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, really?
So
That's
I remember that.
uh-huh.
But apart from that, I don't know what to say. You have to remind me because we didn't publish anything from this conference.
No, although as people pointed out, and I wonder if you agree that it seemed to be a kind of springboard for that volume, American Klezmer, because some of the talks from there, went into there. Bob Rothstein's talk, Alicia's, Frank London's, and
Oh, yes, that's right.
you chipped in your Bogardyaska article.
Oh, yeah, that's the better version, of course. But the thinking that went into that, was several years older.
Right. So
It's published in ethnomusicology in
I think that's what you
1981.
talked about at the
Really?
conference.
Oh dear, the same subjects. Well, okay, all right. And
There was a concert, and I'm not sure whether you played at the concert. Um,
I don't think I could have. In 1996, no, no. I'd stopped playing classical music for 10 years. My
oh,
last appearance was in 1985. I did a solo concert, which I think I've got to digitize. It's a nice piece. And then I was devoted only to Ottoman music, for the next decade. And,
right.
uh, and then the whole thing changed actually here in Budapest,
Mhm.
precisely in 1996.
Oh, really? How's that?
Yeah, that's something I never wrote about. What month was the conference?
I think it was April.
April. Really?
I
Huh.
don't know. I have to look again. I think it was
Check it
April.
out. Because I know that I was at a party on, I think, the Margit Island here in Budapest with Judith. And suddenly I met several of the younger generation of Klezmer who I didn't know.
Hmm.
Steve Greenman, Walt Machovlich,
Uh-huh.
Josh Horowitz. And they were all sort of serenading me at the time.
Huh.
And then I ended up leading there was some kind of party for a journalist who was going to move to Serbia for some reason. And I was leading a Bulgar with a bunch of Hungarians and Serbs. I don't know what. And so it made me realize that, oh, there are younger people interested in this stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
I wasn't paying any attention. And then the word got out, so Alicia Spiegels called me up and said she wanted to play for me.
Hmm.
So she came over to my place and played some Greek music and some klezmer music. And
Uh-huh.
she was doing her solo CD, and she would have, she would have liked me to accompany her, but I said, look, I hadn't played cymbal for years. I was in no shape. I ended up writing the notes for it for the CD,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
which did jog my memory. you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, and yeah, so the conference must have come somewhere in that period. When I was
Yeah. Right. Right.
rethinking the, yeah, and I know I must have. I think some of the transcriptions are redone in my version, in the version of the Bulgar article that you published,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
little more accurate. Uh, yeah, well, other than that, I wasn't doing any new research. Certainly. It was just 2 years later that Itzik Gottesman suggested that I try to meet Yermia Hescheles,
Uh-huh. Right.
right? And so it was 1998 that I called him Mr. Hescheles,
Okay.
right? And that got me interested again. Meeting the last European trained klezmer that anybody knew about living
Hmm.
in America. So then I spent a year devotedly interviewing him.
Uh,
Right?
right.
And I
Right.
introduced both Alicia and Steve Greenman to him. They both played for him.
Uh-huh.
And then the whole thing became alive again. I was interested in
Uh-huh.
creating a fiddle-based group like he had.
Okay, yeah. So the conference was around the time that you were turning your attention again to Klezmer in some fashion.
Well, not quite. Again, it was a
Yeah,
little before. I was just sort of,
right.
yeah, a little bit. But, my
Yeah,
book on Ottoman music had come out that year.
that's right.
There was much more on my mind.
Right, right. Okay. Well, that's fine. I'm just, trying to
Yeah.
set this all in a bit of a context. And it's interesting because there hasn't been another conference, so it ended up being the only conference on klezmer music ever done, basically.
Oh, hmm.
Uh, so people were saying, "Oh, we should do another one." But now I'm not sure who we would invite or what the structure would be, and I'm not working anymore at an institution, so I think it'd
Right.
be a little harder to do. Um,
Hmm. Well, of course, with Klezmer Institute, we have a lot of folks who are, doing practical work,
right, right. So the
in
question is
music.
what, yeah, and it sort of moved into the internet instead of the idea of an in-person conference that for a day and a half where you get together and talk, that way.
Hmm.
So that was a moment when that was the genre, and I think it did help to crystallize, the idea of researching this music. And
But you had as I recall, I mean, it was mostly young practitioners, and I mean, Joe Rubin was there, was
yeah, yeah,
okay, so he was something in between,
yeah. And
um,
Michael was there, and Jeff Wallach was there, and Jim Leffler, and Marty
oh, Jim was
Schwartz.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Marty Schwartz, and
Marty Schwartz, oh, he was
yeah, and Alicia and Hankus, and Yale Strom.
there. So,
So that was who was considered to be who you invited, at that point.
right.
So anyway, it's been interesting talking to people, and yeah, I guess that's how we sort of need to do here. I was just curious what you thought about the whole thing.
Well, as I say, I can't say I thought very much. I mean, we owe you a lot for, making some sources available. That was, you know, that many people have benefited from your, returning to Berezovsky and putting him in English.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, yeah, but hmm. I mean, the whole, let's say, connection between klezmer music and the other repertoires of Yiddish music.
Mhm.
That's that's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, that's kind of why I invited Robert Garfias because he was just back from Romania, and the idea was I'd make an additional connection. Right,
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about Jewish music.
right, right.
I mean, klezmer is fundamental to many other Jewish repertoires.
Oh, right. Well, sure. That's another whole issue. Yeah,
It's a whole other issue. There's not even a study of the klezmer effect on Yiddish song,
right.
which is huge, but it's never been studied systematically.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the other issue, of course, is the Nusach and Davening elements that
right,
are very strong in the core repertoire, which I point out in my well, also
right,
in my book, of course, in the
right.
wedding repertoire, I pointed out. But since that
So,
died out in America, American Jews are not familiar with it very much.
yeah, and those issues were sort of not on the table in 1996 yet. And it's interesting that 30 years later, you're still saying there's so much that we haven't touched yet in this
Well,
field.
the cast of characters is tiny, and let's say within musicology, there's just very few people.
Yeah, right,
There's a lot more practitioners,
right.
right? But the and even connections. Well, Garfias, God bless him, Garfias had done so many things with so many different musics.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
but like even what I've discovered, like working in Moldova with a colleague like Vasile Kiselica at the Academy of Sciences there, that he's been publishing in Romanian for like 20 years now, I think, on the Jewish effect on Moldavian music.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
That was enormous.
Right.
And, it's the only place in Eastern Europe where that was so. And I mean, I hope if I live long enough, I'll have a book I'm calling, something like Secret History,
Right. Right.
which details how the communist government suppressed
Uh-huh.
that reality and also suppressed the music,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
Juda,
absolutely.
Judaized, the
Absolutely.
Judaized Lautar music, and the whole phenomenon, in my father's area, where the gypsy musicians were Yiddish speaking,
Right.
that you had to speak Yiddish to be a professional musician in those towns. There was no
Yeah.
way you could not.
Something else that wasn't really yet on the horizon in 1996. Well, we should probably stop this part of the chat
Mm, sure, sure.
because I don't. Yeah.